This is probably the best piece of financial advice I've ever received. It came from a friend of mine, someone who had already passed the $100,000 mark and was now getting close to his first million. At the time, I was just starting out and constantly worried that I'd never have enough money to afford the things I dreamed about. That's when he told me something I'll never forget. Forget about making millions. Just focus on your first 100,000. Once you hit that, everything else starts growing almost on its own. I didn't fully understand what he meant back then, but I decided to trust him. And over time, it turned out he was absolutely right. So why is the first $100,000 the hardest to get? There are two main reasons. The first one is your earning power. Think of it like leveling up in a video game. Early on, you just don't have the skills, the experience, or the knowledge. So you can't really compete with the players who've been grinding for years. And what's even crazier is that this gap between beginners and high-level players is only growing with time. It's a tough start, and at first, even small steps forward can feel like a struggle. The second reason is the lack of compound interest. In the beginning, you might not have the capital or the time to let your investments grow exponentially. Imagine your money as a snowball. When you first start investing, it's small, but as it rolls down the hill, it picks up more snow, representing compound interest. This snowball effect becomes incredibly powerful over time. But when you're starting from scratch, it takes patience and consistency to see that growth. Early on, the returns are modest, but as you continue to invest and give it time, that small snowball turns into something much bigger. Despite these challenges, once you cross that first $100,000, things start to change. The compound interest kicks in, and your earning power increases as you gain experience and knowledge. What once seemed impossible becomes more achievable, and from there, growth comes much more easily. Trust me, it's all worth it. Once you hit that first $100,000, growing your money becomes much easier. So, why does net worth grow exponentially after hitting $100,000? The answer is simple. Compound interest stops being just a nice idea and starts to work its magic. Let's break this down. If you invest $10,000 annually with a 7% average annual return, going from zero to $100,000 will take around 7.84 years. However, going from $100,000 to $200,000 will only take 5.1 years. That's nearly 2.74 years less to make your second $100,000 compared to the first, 35% faster. And it only gets better from there. If we extend this, going from $200,000 to $300,000 will take 3.78 years. Then from $300,000 to $400,000, it drops to 3 years. And from $400,000 to $500,000, it only takes 2.5 years. As you can see, the growth accelerates drastically once you pass that first $100,000 threshold. Once you hit the first $100,000, everything changes. It's like flipping a switch. The key is getting to that point as quickly as possible. Just imagine how much faster you'd reach millionaire status if you shaved just a couple of years off the time it takes to get to that first $100,000. Now, if you reach that point and decided to invest in a low-cost index fund like the S&P 500 and simply left it alone, you'd still become a millionaire in about 33 years. That's how powerful compound interest can be once you have that first $100,000. So how do you make your first $100,000? It all comes down to the growth method, a strategy created by Mark Tilbury, a multimillionaire businessman who's grossed over $50 million. This method helped him achieve his success, and it can help you too. G stands for gain control of your finances. There's really only one way to do this: budgeting. Now I know what you're thinking. Budgeting sounds restrictive, but it's not about cutting out fun. It's about making informed choices. You don't need to be super frugal, but you need to understand the difference between what you need and what you want. RR stands for root your investments. Let's say you invest $250 a month in an S&P 500 index fund and earn a 7% average annual return. In 40 years, you'll have $656,000. But the impressive part is that $536,000 of that is from compound interest alone. That means you only had to put in $120,000 yourself. I know what you might be thinking. That's great, but by the time I'm 60, I'll be too old to enjoy it. I get it, but remember, the key to wealth is starting now and letting time and compound interest do the heavy lifting. The earlier you start, the more powerful that snowball effect becomes. That's why if you can get that first $100,000 invested as soon as possible, you'll be in a much better position than most people. Now that you're starting to make some money, it's time to focus on the O, which stands for optimize your tax management. This might sound complicated, but in reality, it's actually quite straightforward. Minimize your tax burden legally. Let me be clear here. Tax avoidance is completely legal and a smart financial strategy, while tax evasion is illegal and absolutely not what I'm talking about. The goal is to take advantage of every tax benefit available to you. As an entrepreneur or side hustler, you have a significant advantage here. Unlike regular employees who are taxed on their gross salaries, business owners are taxed on their profits, which means they can deduct expenses before taxes are calculated. For example, if you're passionate about tech and you decide to start a YouTube channel reviewing the latest gadgets, you can potentially write off the cost of those gadgets as business expenses, effectively making them tax-free. This means the government, in a way, helps you pay for the tools you need to grow your business. Just remember, the expenses you claim must be justifiable and directly related to your business activities. Next up is the W, which stands for weed out debts. Did you know the average American carries around $21,800 in debt? If you're in debt, you're definitely not alone. But here's the thing. Debt is like the hot sun melting away the snowball you're trying to build. If you let it sit, it will eat into your wealth faster than you can grow it. The best way to handle this is to list all your debts and prioritize them based on their interest rates. Focus on paying off the ones with the highest rates first, as they're the most costly over time. This approach is sometimes called the avalanche method because it clears the most dangerous financial burdens first. If you can, make small, snowflake payments whenever possible, because every little bit counts when you're trying to melt away that debt. Remember, ignoring your debt won't make it disappear. It'll only make it more stressful down the road. So tackle it now, even if it's just one small payment at a time. So although it might feel like you're losing money when you make those extra debt payments, try to think of it as an investment towards your first $100,000. Every dollar you pay off now is a step closer to financial freedom because it stops the interest snowball from rolling in the wrong direction. Next up is the T, which stands for tap into additional streams of income. In other words, start a side hustle. Nearly 50% of Americans have some form of side hustle, even those making over $100,000 a year. A side hustle gives you multiple advantages. Not only does it diversify your income, but it also gives you more cash to put into tax advantage accounts, which means even more investments. It's like adding fresh snow to your snowball, giving it the momentum it needs to grow faster. Finally, we have the H, which stands for heightened self-discipline. This is the foundation that ties everything together. To put all these strategies into action, you need a strong sense of discipline. Discipline is the currency of success. The more you invest in it, the wealthier your future will become. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're committed to growing your wealth.